Spring means flowers, and the October issue of ABC Gardening Australia magazine brings you dahlias, beronias, and all you need to start your first perennial patch. In Organic Gardener magazine, grow crunchy sweet corn, beautiful sunflowers, and see how to raise happy chooks. Plus, prepare for a fresh new year by grabbing your 2021 gardening calendars and diaries now. Gardening Australia and Organic Gardener magazines. Available from newsagents and abcmagazines.com.au.
Wungarari Majinu, Paula Kruger, ABC Radio, Canberra Warji.
And it's 21 minutes to 3 on your Monday afternoon. Things getting a little bit windy out there, and we're expecting rain later on this afternoon. But I'm going to take your mind to Malua Bay, a small coastal town in New South Wales near Batemans Bay. It was very hard hit by the bushfires earlier this year. Residents had to evacuate to the beach to escape from the blaze, and the beach is now lined with that burnt tree line. And the beach is now also being filled with local residents who are there to surf. Henry Barrington is one of the local surfers, and he is encouraging other Malua Bay residents to take to the water to find a form of aquatherapy. Henry is with you right now, and he is treasurer of the Malua Boardriders in Malua Bay. Henry, welcome to Afternoons.
Thank you, Paula.
How was the surf today, Henry?
It's a bit blowy. I'm actually working from home, so I haven't been out. So I hope my boss heard that.
Okay.
At my laptop, it's not covered in sand.
So the boss heard it loud and clear. You're working from home and you have no idea how the surf is today. Just making that very, very clear. But Henry, can you tell me what have you been doing as far as as aquatherapy goes in the local area?
Look, I think the impact of the bushfires on our lives here can't be understated. I think the generational loss of property across the generations. People were sifting through the ashes to retrieve wedding rings and those last tactile links to their parents or grandparents. So we did gather on the beaches. It's been, I was all over the media, New Year's Eve.
Yes.
In family groups, we were camping and waiting out the danger. But the flames did, they caused something special, that day. And it was the resilience, actually, in Malua Bay's kids that struck me personally. They were on the front line defending their homes during the bushfires, carrying buckets, holding hoses. My son described the Ember attack on New Year's Eve as like a war movie with tracer bullets, streaking across the sky.
Yeah.
And that threat remained for several days, and many places, such as Pretty Point, blazed for days. So the lack of telecommunication compounded that sense of threat. So I recall the kids skating and surfing after the fires. They were sharing their own war stories, recalling what was lost or even what was found in the ashes. Their experience might have been different, but their sharing was universal, Paula. And they were on a bandwidth probably now as a parent. It's completely inaccessible to me, but it's the essence that made us, proud to be parents.
Could you see a benefit in the kids sharing their stories with each other as they skated and hung out on the beach together?
Yeah, they could kind of tease out what had happened and and how their parents might have been reacting. I mean, the lack of communication was very hard. So some people may have thought their homes were intact to find their homes weren't, and vice versa. So there was a lot of emotions on the day, relatives on other sides of the bay or down in Rowley that you couldn't have contact to see how they were as well. So that unknowing and uncertainty was quite hard. But there was spirit there, and the children were fantastic. I think they did probably most of the therapy on the adults as well to get us through it, because obviously we had to be stoic for them. But during that time, we were all sitting with each other, and, we had the modern Incarnations Club is kind of built on that spirit. But it was certainly, was consistency of Grom sitting there, getting our elections a committee. We were there, we were sitting there, so that let's do it now. This was the time to do it. They were happy to take the waves.
And so did surfing, I hate to use the word formally, but did it formally become part of the town coming together and having a conversation?
Well, it was always something we did, but there was a lot of people in the lineup that you kind of knew was somebody's father or somebody's mother, or, that was somebody's son, but you might, other than nodding or saying, hey, mate, you didn't necessarily know their name or had the time to sit down and talk to them. I think that was one of the blessings of the fires of this time. We had lots of time to actually sit down with people and talk, without the distractions of, work, one of a better word, or, and other, those things from modern life, to really talk. So we've been talking about having the club before the fires, but this is really the catalyst to let's do this. And we did. We've had our second comp a couple of weeks ago.
How did it go?
It was good. We've got 84 members, 76 of them being surfers, multi-generational, quite diverse, men, women, girls and boys. We've got 9 local businesses as sponsors, and we do have some support from the New South Wales government as well. You remember the local businesses were also hit hard, they were hit doubly, first by the bushfires and then with COVID restrictions. So their viability and revenues declined greatly from this time last year. But the actual aquatherapy, I think I came to surfing late in my 40s, so I'm never going to be on the cover of tracks. But I think that clarity of being focused on paddling for a wave is hard to translate for people who have never surfed before. It's like a physical music, I think. That's, the bushfires were largely of defensive nature, where we were fighting nature, we were trying to stop nature, encroaching on our property or what have you. But surfing at its core is about being in harmony with nature, matching your pace to the wave, getting on that wave. So I really do envy my son and daughter and their friends that have their whole life of surfing ahead of them. So there's the therapy part, because you've fought against nature. You've seen nature at its most powerful and threatening. But then you've got nature at our doorstep, which is beautiful and it just takes everything away. You disconnect from everything other than that focus of getting on the wave.
You're on Afternoons on ABC Radio Canberra, and you're hearing from Henry Barrington, Treasurer of the newly formed Malua Boardriders in Malua Bay. And so of your members, Henry, you said you've got 84 members, about 76 are surfers. Are there many new surfers there that have only taken up jumping on a board since the club formed?
There's a couple. We've got some. Actually, there's a few postcodes that are in our database now. So you've got some obviously Canberra, Browley, which is almost like another town, and Ulladulla and Burrell Lake. So there's a few people who, like myself, only started surfing in their 40s. There's a number of people who are going to risk their dignity and paddle out in some of the Men and Women's Open. We're all chasing that coveted Kook of the Year award.
What was that, the Kook of the Year?
The Kook of the Year award. It's the most coveted prize we'll have,
What do you have to do to qualify?
Well, Kook's like a term for a bad surfer. So we're searching for that.
So it's the surfing equivalent of the wooden spoon?
Possibly, yeah, that's right, yeah, the raspberry. But all the girls and the boys will be chasing that, best surfer of the year, best junior of the year. A lot of us will be chasing that coveted Kook of the Year award, myself included.
And Henry, have you had much? I mean, you've got considering you're so new, that's quite a decent membership base, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's actually quite extraordinary, and it all happened quite quickly. Like, we had our first couple of meetings. We had one meeting to elect the committee and to allocate roles pre-COVID, and then the second committee meetings were held over Zoom, with some people being fresh to that kind of medium as well, which made it interesting. But it sort of snowballed. A lot of people were asking, in the shops and lineups, when's it happening? It's happening. We want to do it now, but we can't because of this restriction or what have you. So there was it was actually snowboarding and word of mouth, and we had getting members from Burrell Lake and Ulladulla and Browley and people from Canberra that we knew from had homes here or relatives as well. So it really gathered momentum and kept going. So we were kind of, as a committee, we had to keep it going as well. So, we put pressure on us to keep things going. To get a Facebook page, get a web page, make sure we had membership forms, to have everything in place. So when we had the opportunity to start, which was the 12th of September was our first comp, it was a big day. And with a lot of people down there. We had I think 15 or more members at the second comp, but we had, I think, 30 members joined up on that first comp as well.
What has been the feedback from your members with the different events you've had there, Henry? What have they been saying about what the club, what the club's been doing for them?
I energy and the enthusiasm of everyone there. Like, it's come down to have a great day. I mean, 2020 hasn't had much of a share of great days. But these have been good days out. The first day was fairly cold, but the sun was out. We haven't actually had any surf you could actually talk about on either event, being rather flat. But the whole enthusiasm of the participants, the Groms out there, the other men and women, it was that community vibe that came through, that everyone was enthusiastic. What can I do to help? How can I join this? What can I do? We had Az Whiteman, who in his 70s sat down there, was judging for 4 hours. There was that kind of community kind of bastions out there doing things. It was really fantastic.
And when you thought of starting up the Boardriders Club there, Henry, did you dream that it would be at this point so quickly?
No, not at all. I mean, it was the original club back in 84, so a lot of the members are from that kind of old school. But we thought, we wouldn't get to this so quickly. We thought, we'd probably get 50 members, most of them being, girls and boys, like the core grommets. But to actually have 84 members and, 76 of them being in the water, it's quite extraordinary.
And obviously you've got businesses there, Henry, that you say that have jumped on board to support the surf club. How are things looking for them still? Are they still facing quite a few challenges?
They are. I mean, Canberra started to trickle back, and I think hopefully with the with restrictions on international travel, those people that usually go overseas or for other places during the Christmas holidays will come to the coast. I think after the bushfires, they lost a number of staff, and things were quite tight, and then to have the double whammy of COVID made it hard for them to keep their businesses viable throughout that time. So it was hard for them. So for them to come on board, we didn't really want to go to local businesses, suffered enough, back in hand, so to speak. But they came to us, and a lot of them are quite generous. I mean, we've got 9 businesses that all contributed $1,000 each. So.
Wow, but I bet they're also looking forward to things getting closer to normal, Henry, and welcoming the visitors back, as you said. Oh,
we're welcoming visitors, so we're all Canberra members. Canberra members have still, application forms to complete, so come down.
Okay, well, we'll have to do that, especially if, not that you can give us a surf report today, but generally speaking, things...
I can't remember.
But generally speaking, especially we've got school holidays coming up in the next couple of weeks, things should be looking good over that period, Henry.
That's true.
Henry, look, it sounds great. Thank you so much for bringing us the good news story at Malua Bay at the moment with the Boardriders Club. And I know that there's still a lot of healing for people to go through, but thank you for joining us on Afternoons today.
All right. Thank you, Paula. Thanks for your time.
That's Henry Barrington, Treasurer of the newly formed Malua Boardriders in Malua Bay, and it was started because, to bring the community together after the bushfires, and let's face it, COVID has brought its challenges as well, but they've started up a Boardriders Club. Henry there is the treasurer. They've got 84 members. Their first event was earlier this month. Of their 84 members, 76 are surfers. Some of them are first-time surfers as well. You're on Afternoons on ABC Radio Canberra with Paula Kruger. Other than talking, the healing effects of being in the water and with nature, we're also talking about the challenges of speeches.